Good evening, folks. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Project Connect Community Advisory Committee to order. It's 5:03 p.m. on January 9th, 2025 at the Austin Transit Partnership Office Boardroom at 203 Colorado Street, Austin, Texas. Happy New Year. And it's great to see a lot of folks here. So the first item that I have is the call to, after the call is to go over our roll calls. This is Chair Zahar. I am here. Vice Chair Flateau.
I'm here.
Mr. Hendricks. Mr. Hendricks, we see you, but somehow we cannot hear you. Oh, I think we just heard you. Well, hopefully we can figure that audio out, but we'll notice you as being present at the moment. Mr. Garza.
Present.
Mr. Gorse.
Here.
Miss Berry.
Hello, present.
Miss Mir.
Hello, I'm here.
Mr. Brooks.
Here.
And then in the room, we have Secretary Summers.
Hello, I'm here.
Mr. Reed.
Here.
And Mr. Crossley is absent. Okay, that takes us to our first item, which is the land acknowledgement. And I'm hoping, Miss Berry, that you can lead us through that.
Yes, absolutely. So to ground yourself before starting this meeting, it's important to talk about the history of this region. Long before it came to be known as Waterloo or Austin, this region has drawn people here for thousands of years, in part because of our waterways and the wealth of natural resources. This region has been home to the Tancoa, the Cuauhteca, as well as the Comanche, Lipanapache, Sana, Humanos, and many others I may not have named who were also caretakers of this land. I highlight this history because Native and Indigenous peoples are routinely erased from the conversations, referred to as having disappeared or having been conquered. Native and Indigenous peoples are still here and present in what we now call Austin. The pursuit of white land ownership, profit, and so-called progress has harmed Black, Indigenous, and people of color in this city. The effects of the legacy of settler colonialism, the theft of land, slavery, and genocide are still felt and present with us today. It's vital to keep this history in mind as you do this important work and to make a commitment to stop perpetuating the cycle of violence against Black, Indigenous, and people of color.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. That takes us to public comment. Do we have anybody who had signed up to speak?
Nobody did. I think she's on her way here, but she's not here yet.
Okay, we can definitely see if Ms. Joseph comes, we can have her join. And then also I can see we have some attendees. If you're online and wishing to speak, if you raise your hand, we can make sure that you're moved over so that you have speaking ability. Okay, not seeing that, I think we can move forward. This takes us to our next item, which is our only action item for the day. This is our meeting minutes. And I'm trying to see, I believe the meeting minutes for December, were they shared in advance? Yep, I see Mr. Flateau. Thank you so much for that nod. So these would be the December 12th meeting minutes. Any comments, suggestions, edits that folks would want to suggest?
Sorry, can somebody confirm when they were sent out?
Let's see, I'm going to check as well. And if somebody else gets there before me, please do let me know.
Friday, the 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
We can take a moment if folks want to just look over them as well. So again, these were the meeting minutes for the December 12th meeting. And I believe these were sent out when we got our agenda.
So for some reason, do you guys see me on there? Because I don't remember getting the agenda or the minutes for some reason.
Unsure. I wonder if there was an error. We can give us a second.
Email.
You want to come up to the microphone?
Hi, Catalina. It's Sophie. It was sent to your BC email. Do you have access to that inbox? No. Okay, great. Good to know. We'll work on getting you access. And in the meantime, I'll just keep including your personal email address just that you can get everything.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the inconvenience.
No, that's fine. Good to know so that you can make sure we can get you everything you need.
And thank you, Ms. Berry, for pointing that out. This actually may be a good moment to just do a check since Mr. Crossley is the only one missing. Is everybody else receiving the emails? Or if you have any trouble, please feel free to reach out to staff at any point. Okay, so not hearing any suggestions or edits. Do I see a motion for approval of the December 12th, 2024 meeting minutes?
I'll motion.
Thank you. We have a motion from Mr. Garza. Do you have a second?
I'll second. Barry.
Thank you so much, Ms. Berry. So we have a motion from Mr. Garza, seconded by Ms. Berry for approval of the December 12th, 2024 CSC meeting minutes. All in favor say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you all so much. This takes us to our discussion.
Excuse me, I'm really sorry. Is there a way that you could mark me as abstain because I was not available for the December meeting?
Sure. My apologies if
No,
I
it's
missed.
fine.
So that would be the December 12th, 2024 CSC meeting minutes. They're approved with Azhar, Summers, Reed, Brooks, Garza, Berry, Flato, Gorse, and Hendricks voting in favor, and Ms. Mayor as abstain.
I was also abstaining because I wasn't at the meeting, as the minutes correctly record.
So let me make sure that I get this right. Anybody else who is not voting in favor? Okay, not seeing that. Sorry, go ahead, Ms. Flato.
I was just gonna say, technically, according to Robert's Rules of Order, you don't actually have to be at the meeting to approve them, just so you guys know. So you don't technically have to abstain, but you certainly have you can abstain anytime you wish.
Thank you for that note, Ms. Flato. So then again, the meeting minutes for December 12th, 2024 are approved with Azhar, Summers, Reed, Garza, Berry, Hendricks, Flato, Gorse in favor, Mayor and Brooks abstaining. Thank you all so much. Those are approved. This takes us to our discussion items. So the first item is the Austin Light Rail and draft EIS background. And I believe we have staff that's going to be presenting on that.
All right, good evening. Hello, everybody. My name is Darren Lozano. I am with ATP. I am SVP of Environment and Project Development. It's a great pleasure to come in and give you an update here today, because when we talk about the draft EIS, it's a very monumental milestone in this program. So committee chair, members of the committee, I'll go ahead and get started. Although I pushed no buttons and they're doing this.
Ready?
Are you honest? I have control. Okay. Okay, so as we get started here, let's take you back a little bit to the history of how we got to today. 2020, 2021, I think everybody's aware the ATP came into fruition with our mission to advance light rail. 2022, 2023. Oh, sure. 2022, 2023, we defined our actual project. And here we are, where you see in the green, where it's 23 through 26, where we're really advancing our planning, design, and what is project development. And a reminder that project development is a actual phase where we work through the Federal Transit Administration, where we actually formally applied to be in project development. And as project development progresses, we are mandated to actually complete our environmental process. And that's a big push of what we're doing over that kind of green time span. And then the rest of the slide just shows you kind of the future, how we're planning engineering for a couple years, construction duration about 7 years, leading to opening in 2033. Sorry, Giannis, I beat you to it. What? I pushed it one time. I promise that's not it. They watch me push this, right?
One time.
Uh-huh.
Or Giannis could use the arrows on the keyboard.
I think I might need you to do it. I'm trigger happy or something. Yeah. All right. So a little bit about NEPA. As I mentioned, NEPA is the federal process where we actually evaluate all potential environmental impacts as part of the Austin Light Rail project. And it's really a three-tiered process. If you look at the timeline on the right there, scoping we held about a year ago between January and March, where we asked the public to provide input on issues we should analyze in the draft EIS. We went out to the public for about a 2-month period, got several thousand comments on the actual scoping itself, put together a scoping report, and that fed into what we developed as part of the draft environmental impact statement. That draft EIS is actually ready to be published tomorrow. I'm really excited because we got the hard copies delivered today. They're going to go to the physical locations on our website tomorrow. You'll actually be able to access the draft environmental impact statement, and it'll also be posted on the Federal Register. So this not only gets local attention, but national notoriety as well. And as we go through the draft EIS, the next major step is to actually finalize that document into what's called the final EIS, or final environmental impact statement. And accordingly, the record of decision, the ROD. And that's extremely important because that is basically a legal binding commitment as to all how we're going to mitigate the project will be part of that actual record of decision. And all comments, what's really important is all comments received during the draft EIS will be responded to in the final EIS as well. So comments are definitely heard during this important time period. Oh, yeah, Giannis, you got it right. Next slide. We've put together this slide, and we're really proud of this because a lot of times questions come up about what did we study? And we wanted to put this together to show that we've actually looked at just about everything you can think of when it relates to community, when it relates to transportation, or when it relates to the natural environment. I mean, this kind of gives a sense of, when we're talking about Section 6F, Section 4F, what does that really mean? But it's easier to show that these are really, when we're talking about recreational areas, which is kind of dead center in the bottom of the line there. But again, I'm not going to read through all these, but this is something that we really hope will be visual as we go out in the public meetings, so people really kind of hone in on what's of interest to them, and to note that we've actually looked at so many different resources and issues that Austin Light Rail could impact. That's actually part of the overall process. Giannis, next slide, please. So that being said, I wanted to make everybody aware that we are going through our public comment period. That public comment period is going to be 60 days. We're extending it for 2 months, starting again tomorrow, January 10th through March 11th. And coinciding with that is we have several public meetings scheduled, including one starting next Thursday at Lively Middle School, the 22nd at Baker Center, January 25th at Montopolis Recreation Center, and January 28th at the University of Texas at Austin. And again, March 11th closes our 60-day comment period. So we really tried to pick locations all throughout the corridor. Some of those meetings are in the evenings. The Montopolis one is actually on a Saturday. So we're really hoping to get a wide range of attendees at these different meetings. Giannis, as you go to the next slide, and Giannis, I'll probably ask you to weigh in here too, but we want to make sure to know we've gained really good success from everything we've done from the scoping meetings. There were a lot of best practices that we're going to implement as we go out to the public this go around. We're going to be making sure that all of the materials that are actually at the meetings are going to be available online. We're going to be doing a lot of presentations to Austin boards and commissions, mostly scheduled through the February timeframe, committees as well. And we also would call on not only individuals with a CAC, but when people come to attend the meetings, we rely on and people to tell us who should we be speaking to. We don't want to make this check the box and go have the meetings here, but if there's some other neighborhood group we should go speak to, someone we're not thinking of, that's really helpful for us. So really, you as representatives of your communities, and we say the same thing to people that attend our meetings, we really would like to work together to determine how we should be doing our outreach. And so we're really trying to capture, again, besides community meetings, going to the physical bus stops themselves. It's kind of a all hands on deck process that's worked for us to get out to the bus stops and the red line stops along the way. Block walks, social media, you're going to start to see a lot of that advertised starting tomorrow. And you'll hear actually a lot of radio ads and see it in print again starting tomorrow as well. I don't know, Giannis, is there anything you want to add in terms of public outreach that we'll be doing?
No, that's pretty much the gist of it. Of course, I think you mentioned there will be copies of the DEIS at the different libraries. The main library, Carver Library, library off of Cesar Chavez, I believe, as well. I have to get the whole list. So we'll have them at different libraries around town also for people to have hard copy access. They can't get here or to any of the other locations. So they can, if they want to read through it, they can do that. But yes, pretty much all the outreach we're going to be doing.
And going beyond the draft DIS itself, at these public meetings, we're going to have all the design drawings so people can see the design physically, how it would be implemented throughout the community, so they can ask questions. We'll have plenty of people available, engineers, planners, some of the outreach folks to answer any questions that we have. And in addition, we're going to actually post the executive summary and the draft DIS chapters online in Spanish. So we're working through finalizing that translation now, hopefully to get it posted as soon as we can. At the meetings themselves, we will have interpreters there. We'll actually have court reporters. The FTA or the federal government does require that we have formal public hearings where we actually do have court reporters. So we'll have court reporters at the meetings as well. So plenty of opportunity to comment and to receive input. And again, our team will be answering every comment that we get throughout this 60-day period. And I'm happy to take any questions that you might have on the NEPA, DEIS, or outreach.
We'll pause there and Ms. Flato, go ahead.
Just a quick question. I was just curious, is the other open houses that you guys have done have been kind of a, you walk around and look at the boards and that kind of thing. But if we have a court reporter and that kind of thing, is this going to be more of an actual presentation at the meeting, like from a lectern and kind of talking through the whole the environmental impact statement?
No, it will be similar to how we've done before, where it is kind of guide flow yourself, but there will be court reporters there to take comments from people because we need to get the public feedback as well. So if somebody wants to sit down and talk about what they're thinking or feeling or want to get that there, we'll be able to take their comments from the court reporters there. So we have them available to take the feedback from individuals, especially if somebody may not be good with writing. We want to make sure that they have those opportunities to give their feedback.
Yeah, and just
Okay, so that means that people will also be able to do written comments at the sessions.
We'll have a comment table with comment cards as well. So if you just want to write yours out, you can. If you want to talk to the court reporter to give it verbally, you can. Of course, we'll have the website and you can go to the website and give feedback there. You can do all the different ways you want to. If you want to do all 3 or 4, whatever, you're more than welcome to do it any way they want to, but we just want to make sure we have enough options for people so we can get their comments.
Oh, sure. I'd just like to add, yes, it's going to be similar in terms of an open house forum where people can kind of learn as they go. There won't be a formal presentation at any of the meetings. Each venue is different, so we're making sure that we have the court reporter put in a spot where the individuals that work with them can be heard. And so we're working through that for each of the different venues now.
Appreciate
Thanks.
that. And Ms. Berry, sorry, before we go on to you, I want to acknowledge Ms. Zenobia Joseph, who had signed up for public comment, is here. Ms. Joseph, if you want to provide comment right now or later, I defer to you. Yeah, we should definitely be able to do that. No. I think it makes sense for us to hear from you in case we have questions that come from your comment. I appreciate that. And then Ms. Berry will come to you when we resume questions. Okay. While we're waiting for the slides, Ms. Berry, do you want to ask your question as well?
Sure. My first question was kind of answered, just trying to understand like the way it was going to be set up with the presentation and everything. That was one of my questions, but I think you answered it. But if there's anything else you wanted to add in terms of like the timing, if it's going to be rolling and all of that, I'd appreciate that. And my second question was, when it comes to social media, who will be posting from social media? Because I didn't know if you were going to get how you're going to spread the message on social media, if it's buying ads or if it's certain accounts posting, because if I don't follow X account, then I won't see it. So I'm just curious about how the social media campaign was going to be handled.
Hi, Member Berry. I can answer part of that. We do have a whole team that kind of specializes in this, so I'll try and kind of summarize it, but it's kind of a combination of both. So we have our social accounts, so Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, I believe, are the ones that we use right now. And so we will have just, standard posts on our pages, but then we also have ad buys. So those will come up on, if you don't follow us, hopefully you'll see it. And I think it's targeted to Austin locals, but yeah, I can't say exactly, but I know that it's a combination of both. Cool.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks, go ahead.
What time of day will the EIS be posted on the website? Because there will be people who are waiting to hit the return key, whatever time you say.
That's a good question. If we're up to me, it'd be 12:01 tonight. But I think we're more likely by 8 in the morning is what we're trying to commit to have it ready to go tomorrow.
So if I tell people 10 a.m., it's probably safe.
That should be safe. Yes.
Folks have a weekend DIS reading party. Sounds like a plan.
I'll be part of it. Let me be part of that.
Mr. Garza, and then we'll go to Mr. Gorse.
Yep, congratulations on reaching this milestone. I was just curious what the page count was.
I can give that to you, actually.
I figured you'd have it in your head.
Yes.
Can we all guess first?
I'm going 315.
Well,
3,000.
it's a twofold. One is the draft EIS, the chapters themselves have to be under 150 or 300. We're at 176 per regulations, and that's word per page. I'm really getting technical here. I'm sorry, but it doesn't include tables, full page maps. So we went through all that count. But that being said, all the appendices is what makes up the bulk of the document itself. So if you come to actually review the document hard copy, I'll just let you know there are 10 volumes to it. And so it's thousands of pages in terms of the actual technical appendices themselves. But what we've really tried to do to kind of break it down is we do have an executive summary that'll give you the high points and the major findings. The chapters themselves, that 176-page document provides additional information. And if you want all the nitty gritty, that's really where the technical appendices will give you that information.
Thank you.
Sure. Great
Thank
question.
you. Mr. Gorst, and then we'll go back to Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. First of all, I'm wondering if we have groups that we think that you should reach out to, how should we handle that? Like Giannis, should we reach out to you?
Mr. Banks had to step out of the room to figure something out from a technical perspective. I don't know. We have Ms. Beckus walking up.
Hi, I can answer that. We have a resource account. It's input, INPUT at atptx.org. And that's just our general resource account. So you can email us anytime if you have any, you think there's a certain group that we should go to and present to, or just with general comments. But yeah, I would say input is the best way to reach us.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I'll take that down in case I need it. I'm also wondering, I guess if I look at the statements, I'll have a better idea of, but I'm also kind of wondering briefly what you're looking for in terms of feedback and what the scope is. Like I assume part of it is like how the construction of the rail line will affect the ecology of the area, but I'm guessing there's like, I'm assuming like whether, like I would think like whether it could affect endangered species or the microbiology of the area would be in scope, but I'm sort of guessing that's a bit broader than that. So I'm just vaguely wondering like what isn't in scope, since I presume it isn't everything about the line, since it's about the environmental impacts. But I'm wondering if you want to comment on that.
Yes, happy to. I think that is a great question. And I guess we can break it down in terms of, this was really a collaborative effort between Austin Transit Partnership, Cap Metro, and the city as well. And so we started with all of the information, knowledge that we had and put it in this document to discuss what is the affected environment. And the affected environment, essentially, what is the community like now in terms of, as you mentioned, water, trees, land use, zoning. So the first thing we'd ask is, are those resources, do we capture everything? Is there something that you're not aware of that should be included? The other thing is we talk about impacts related to those environmental issues. The comments we're looking for is, yes, you did an appropriate job of assessing what the impacts may be, or we think there might be more of a concern related to, again, land use, zoning, trees, those types of things. And the other thing too is at the end of the day is we're going to put together a mitigation plan itself that are basically the commitments as to when we go through construction and operation of the project itself, how are we going to protect, assess, evaluate the types of things that are in the community. So again, making sure that the proposed mitigation measures are actually something that are agreeable, again, or if there's anything that we missed. One other thing too, and this is pretty major, is that we do have design options that are part of the environmental impact statement. I know we've presented them here before. And as part of the draft EIS, you will see a recommended project. And that recommended project recommends the different design alternatives that we've presented. So again, your feedback on, we agree, we think these design alternatives you propose are great, or you know what, we think we have issue with the design option that ATP is recommending, and here is why. It's always important for us to understand what the here is the why answer, so it helps us navigate the response and do our due diligence for any additional research we need to do appropriately. Hopefully it answers the question.
Yeah, I'd say so. Thanks.
Sure.
Mr. Gorst, did you have a follow-up or?
No, that's all I had. Thanks.
Got it. Mr. Brooks, and then go to Ms. Summers. Mr. Brooks, you're muted.
Yeah, I didn't have any further questions. I think I took down my hand.
Okay. Yeah, you see you did. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss you. Ms. Summers, please go ahead.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure. So looking at the open houses, I know that those were mainly concluded by the end of January, which I think makes sense because people may need to, in some cases, go to the open house, digest the information, submit their comments, or they can do it just at the open house if they're really ready to go. And I know February, you mentioned you're cycling through boards and commissions and community groups. Is there, like, in terms of the timeline in February, is that the main focus is, boards and commissions and community presentations in February? What else happens in February or early March with, in terms of the input and action that y'all are taking at that time?
Sure. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Of course, the virtual open house will be up the whole time where people can always go to that self-paced and give comment feedback and look at it that way. We'll still be doing any community groups and any meetings. Of course, we have, like you said, boards and commissions and whatever else is out there. We'll be there. We'll do some stop outreach probably and then be out at community events. So our focus will be there, and that's where we would spend our energy, just being out and about in the community a little bit more. So it wouldn't be the whole detail of an open house, right? But it would be a scaled down version of that, but and still encouraging people to either give us comments there, but really to kind of, I guess we'll push the open house more, the virtual open house more, where they can go and give a longer detail comments and feedback.
Great. Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
No problem.
Are we ready to take public input from Ms. Joseph at this time? Things keep saying, we might come back. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. I'm Zenobia Joseph. My comments, as they always are, in the context of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin. I would appreciate if you put the information in backup material as it relates to the slides. And I am a little disappointed that you're meeting on this cold day. I will just make one contextual comment. As I entered, there are 2 homeless people sleeping at the entrance. And so I just want you to recognize, as it relates to the mitigation strategies, the environmental impact statement, as it relates to Texas Department of Transportation in particular, their EIS statement as it relates specifically to I-35 expansion has Project Connect included the $7.1 billion, which was the initial cost. But I want you to recognize it is pretty disingenuous for them to say that mitigation for I-35 expansion was the homelessness. So they are expanding Camp Esperanza. And if you're like me, you might ask yourself, what does that have to do with I-35 and Project Connect? But apparently September 28, 2023, they briefed the mobility committee and said that they were going to put the homeless or expand Camp Esperanza as mitigation for I-35. So I would just say to you, since you're talking about the environmental impact statement, to be honest with the community, as opposed to simply saying you're going out there doing some type of mitigation that has nothing to do with the actual project. I have on the screen an image of the mid-block stops that are north of US 183. I just want to remind you specifically that this is a pretty busy corridor. Capital Metro actually analyzed North Lamar in 2020. Texas Department of Transportation did as well. I just want you to see how wide this roadway is. And I want you to recognize that when I'm at Hyde Park by the golf course, there are pedestrian hybrid beacons. When I'm at the Triangle, it's double on both sides. They have pedestrian hybrid beacons. I want you to recognize that there was a gentleman named Donald Norton who was killed here. And so while I certainly appreciate you have a charge to push the light rail system, you are receiving taxpayer dollars from everyone. And so it is disingenuous not to actually do something about the lack of safe crossings north of US 183. I think Giannis will give you another view. I just want you to recognize Donald Norton was a white man who was killed in this particular area across from Not Your Ordinary School, same block. On a day like today, there is literally no way for you to actually walk along the path there. And if you're in a wheelchair, you have to be in the street. So I want you to realize his service dog lived, but he was killed, died from his injuries. So it is disingenuous for you to keep producing slides and presentations that make it seem like Project Connect is actually there for everyone, when in fact, north of US 183, we do not have safe transportation and we do not have protected crossings. And so I would just ask you to recognize the need to be a little bit more equitable and to recognize that minorities are the ones that live north of US 183, predominantly on the northeast side. And specifically, just want to call to your attention, it was November 3rd, 2017, when Lawrence Dieter was interviewed by Austin Chronicle, and he admitted that every system has casualties. But I also want you to remember that the slogan was more frequent, more reliable, better connected service when CAP remap changed. So there's only, I think, one other slide, and I just think that one's too small, but I just want you to recognize that it's from, I know you might not be able to see it, but it says basically that Dottie Watkins has heard me say this many times, and that's from 2020. Giannis was there at Capital Metro at the time, and he actually sent this information. It was in the minutes. So I just want you to recognize the mid-block stop at Chinatown is still open at Breaker and North Lamar. I appreciate that they actually opened a new Metro Rapid there, but there's a study from 2009 that told Capital Metro, TxDOT, the City of Austin, Housing, Transportation Department, and Housing. Also, all of them were there in a meeting for 20 months. They studied North Lamar. And so I cannot emphasize enough that people have died on North Lamar. David John Madrano was killed in 2019 after Capital Metro actually opened the mid-block stop. So I could go on and on. I know that my time is short, but I just want you to recognize that people have been killed here. 75 people were hit in a 3-mile stretch from North Lamar Transit Center to Peyton Gin. And there's a K-View Defenders report that was done by Erica Proffer that showed this. And still, it took over a year rather, for Capital Metro to actually put a pedestrian hybrid beacon at Fairfield Station. So my request, as it always is really, if you're going to talk about safety and you're going to talk about Project Connect and mitigation, to recognize that the system is serving white choice riders and not the transit dependent minorities who are now taking 2 and 3 buses. And Capital Metro is double and triple counting them as they take these transfers in dangerous roadways like the ones that you've seen today. So I thank you for allowing me to make my comments, and would appreciate you putting the information online for people who, like me, who read that information. So thank you, Mr. Chair and members. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them at this time.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
Certainly.
We'll resume questions, but I do want to say, I think it might be, when we go future agenda items, I might request an item to see if we can have somebody from the cities, it was previously the corridor office, I know it's changed, which is to understand the bond improvements and some of the other pedestrian improvements that were happening.
Yeah, that would be the capital delivery services. And is it appropriate for me to sort of, I don't know if it's a question for you, Ms. Joseph, but I just want to say, I serve on this body, and I also serve on the Urban Transportation Commission, as I'm sure you know.
Yes.
And everything you've shared is something that I know about. I mean, it's North Lamar, north of 183 is one of the most dangerous, I think the most dangerous stretch of roadway in our city. And there's some very, I almost don't want to say this is what I'm about to say. There's some very complex things going on there. There's TxDOT right of way, there's city things, there's drainage issues, watershed issues that make the situation complex. But I am tired of the excuses of that this is too complex for us. So I'm very angry about it, as I know that you also are. I don't know if you've watched our June UTC meeting, but you should watch that, because I'm also angry about it. And I think that we need a movement to demand that this be fixed. And it's not just Cap Metro, right? There's Cap Metro elements and facilities there, clearly, but it's also City of Austin. It's also TxDOT. And so I really hear your plea, and it's deeply upsetting to me as well. So I just want to acknowledge and recognize that, but I don't have all the solutions at my hand right now, but it is something that is a moral imperative on us to fix.
Yes, and thank you for the comments. I will just point you to a policy, specifically Austin Strategic Mobility Plan. When they did walk, bike, roll, there's actually language in there about the discriminatory practices, and it specifies North Lamar that the city did not want to put the sidewalks. And so while it is complex, they have acknowledged that they've discriminated in that area, as well as Dove Springs, which is better now because they have frequent bus transportation there. I would also call to your attention that even though it's complex as it relates to rail, the Federal Railroad Administration, Capital Metro at Sabine, they have decided to put $1.4 million to actually make that crossing safer. And so when you look at the amount of monies that are being spent on rail safety, the crossings, even putting the stations together, that one's downtown. Same with Plaza Saltillo, they have found the willpower to make it safer there. If you're on Burnett Road across from Dollar Tree, I don't want to be long about it, but they have closed off the actual access for cars so that people who are cycling and people who are walking can't make that sharp right turn. So when they have the willpower, they find a way to get it done. And I just appreciate that you made the comments and just would say to look at the policy and to also recognize that March 4th, 2021, item 67 on council's agenda was the apology to Black people. So they have acknowledged pretty consistently and on the record. So it is not just them, but when you combine them all together and you recognize that since 2009 with Texas Transportation Institute, there was a study that told them about mid-block crossings is where people die. And they continue to open mid-block stops, they exacerbate the problem. And you're absolutely right about North Lamar and Runberg. And I would just say, if you want to be concrete about it, because people don't like to talk about race, if you look at the people who used to be at 12th and Chacon, they've basically just shifted. And if you look at the heat map of the homeless problem in Austin, it goes right through that area. So is it really that complex, or is there just not the willpower to get it done? Because they have the money, and I will lastly say they have $22.9 million for safe routes to school. So specifically, it has gone up to 47.5 million with the actual monies they have from the bonds. And Not Your Ordinary School is the picture that Yana showed you, and they have the money to actually do something about it. But unfortunately, they've not put sidewalks, they've not put lighting, but if you're on the southbound side, on your way to Hyde Park, there is a shelter at almost every stop. So thank you. I mean, it's discriminatory. I appreciate your focus on it. Maybe you guys can actually do a resolution to at least acknowledge it and to put forth the solution based on the funding and the monies that they've received. Because, you know, when I testify, I'm telling them to suspend the federal funding to get their attention because people have died. And I don't have to know Mr. Norton, but his service animal lived, the dog lived, but he died. And I could just go on. There's so many people who have actually died unnecessarily. And literally, this will be my last comment, but at Breaker in North Lamar, Capital Metro has chosen to leave Chinatown 5857, that stop mid-block open, when the landing pad is still there for Kramer. And they could just put the pole back right at the intersection and still serve that area, and then open the one that they just installed at Breaker in North Lamar. But Sharmila Mukherjee's analysis shows that there are about 400 people that traverse that area each day on the north and southbound side. But those are the decisions that they've made, even with the money, even when it doesn't cost any money. So maybe this body, if you put forth your recommendations, would actually get their attention so that you're not just engaging in willful blindness and wasting your time coming each month, you know? So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I do see Miss Berry and Miss Mary, you have your hands up. I just want to point out one quick thing, which is hopefully we can have short comments on the topic. Since we're not posted for the item, if we cannot have a discussion on it, because that would be
Okay.
DOMA non-compliance. But if you have a quick comment, you can certainly make it.
I just have a quick comment. I just want to say that I see you, I believe you, I appreciate all the detail that you have brought on this topic. And I would also encourage you to reach out to the Austin Mayor's Committee for People with Disabilities about it.
Thank you. And I tried to contextualize it with the mitigation strategy. They kind of all blur together, but I do recognize that safety specifically is not on your agenda, but I thank you for acknowledging it.
Of course, thank you. And Miss Berry, please go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I also just want to say thank you for just having such a thorough presentation and having so much information. I've always been so impressed with you. And just saying that this is in District 7. I was looking up and it's like right on the border of District 7. And with a new council member, hopefully, you know, something can come from that. But I would also like to see if this is something that we can talk about in the future, putting it on the agenda, topics like this. I don't know exactly what that would look like. I still feel like I'm relatively new, but I do think this is something I would like to talk about more in the future.
No, I appreciate that, Ms. Berry, and we'll make sure that when we get to future agenda items, I think I'll definitely will ask. And it seems like it might be two separate presentations because it seems like there's City of Austin staff, but there's also Cap Metro.
Well, and then it's in text dots right away, so you may want to at least ask a Campo representative or someone from the text dot office to be here as well, but it is specific. I appreciate that she mentioned the District 7 because the Metropolitan Park is right there across from the Housing Authority of the City of Austin Heritage Woods property. And the mid-block stop is right there. You literally have no way to get to the Haka property safely. And the images that Yana showed you, that's the same path on the side of the road that you have to walk to get to the property, which supposedly takes vouchers, but there's only one voucher holder there. Rightfully so. But thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph. Thank you. And Ms. Summers, when we come to the future agenda items, I might need a little bit of your help.
Yeah, I can help.
Okay, I do want to make sure we get back to other questions on the DIS. Do folks have other questions or comments? I do have one. I'll start off with it, and I think other folks might jump in. We saw the list of sort of meetings. I'm going to assume all of those meetings, their times will be available on the website starting tomorrow or at some point in the near future as well, or? I'm trying to understand, like, through the list of meetings and their timings and how to attend them, when does that become available for community members?
Yeah, I think that will be posted on the website tomorrow as well. When the DIS go live, it will all be posted out there. I think some of them may have gone out in email blast, maybe not to necessarily the committee members, but I think there was some email blasted where some of the meetings did go out.
Can I add to that? Actually, if you go online now on our website, we did post the times. We got ahead of it. Yeah, so we actually, the label is community meetings. It shows the location and the actual times of each meeting.
Thank you. Really, can we walk through that slowly? And it seems like Mr. Banks might be pulling it up as well. I think it would be helpful for everybody to see how to get to that. Can you share your screen as well? So for those watching this, this is on atptx.org. And under, then release this on the homepage, I believe. So on the homepage, you can see the different public meetings, their times and their locations are listed at the moment, at least through January. So that's great.
If you go to view more, then you see all of them.
Ah, great. Perfect. This is really helpful. So I hope that that's something that committee members can do as well. Please share that with groups and committee members who are interested to go and provide feedback on that. I think that's a great idea.
I have a quick question or suggestion. I don't know if it's too late for that. Is it possible to show the locations on a map? Like the locations for the open houses, because if you say like the location, I may not know, and then I have to go individually and see where it is to see if it makes more sense on my route. Or, just for me visually, I just think it would make sense if it's.
When you click through to the event, like you click the green banner, then it shows you the venue, like you can just click that one. I think it was or maybe just the words. Yeah, sorry. And then it does take you to a Google Map link. It's not embedded, but if you say venue, under venue, it says Google Maps.
Can you share this back with them?
Yes. If we can share the screen, a second, please.
Yeah, so we get this up here. So yeah, so when you click the event and then you go down, it says venue, and then you have the map function there.
I meant more just like having one map of like the light rail and then the locations of where everything is, or like in relation to the light rail, to have it all. So when I see the list of all the dates of, and maybe this is me just getting too specific, but all the dates of all the locations have a map next to it so I can see where they are too, to see where it is convenient or where it makes sense, or just to see it also in relation to where it is with like the rail and everything.
Yeah, I think we can talk to our team and see if that's something they can create like a static map that's just with a pin on there showing the different locations. Yeah, well, we can look into that and see.
Awesome, thank you.
No problem.
How about also the bus routes?
Mr. Brooks, I feel like what you're saying is to also see if there can be an ability to see bus routes as well.
Yes, yes.
Appreciate that.
You got it.
Okay. Sounds like staff is going to take that into account. Thank you all so much for that. And just the last thing I was just going to ask on my end, if other folks have questions, we can certainly do that. Which is, so this is the draft EIS, and then we go through the record of decision after this. The mitigation part comes as the step afterwards, or is that part of the draft EIS?
So the mitigation measure you're going to see in the draft EIS, and they're actually separated by individual issue. At the end of when the FEIS is published, we actually have a mitigation management plan, and that mitigation management plan lists all the mitigation measures, construction and operation, and that's given to the actual contractor that's going to build the project. And so they are tasked to live by that mitigation. We'll call it like a menu that they must actually abide by as they go through it. So hopefully to answer your question, when the record of decision is published, it'll be the record of decision will include the final EIS and that mitigation management plan. Does that answer it?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And then just one other sort of question related to that is, of course, I'm going to assume that what's in the draft EIS is sort of what are federal requirements. And I know that locally we're going above and beyond. Would that be part of the EIS as well, or is that something that might be a separate conversation happening at the same time as well?
We did go above and beyond. And one thing that I'll mention, we know of utmost importance to Austin is trees. Trees isn't typically assessed in the draft environmental impact statement, but we have a whole assessment on that, the bats as well. So to a sense, yes, we do go above and beyond. And again, we try to capture the issues with the experience with the city, Cap Metro, ATP, that are issues that are important beyond what we need to assess. And so again, as you go through the document, feel free to comment if we've missed something. We are tasked to look at historic structures, communities, and so forth. And again, working with the city and Cap Metro, we put in there what we could. But again, if we're missing something, please don't hesitate to bring that up.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Other questions or comments from anyone? No, thank you so much. I will echo what Mr. Garza was saying. Congratulations on reaching this milestone. I think it's definitely very exciting. And that takes us to our next item. And I believe we have Cap Metro staff, Ms. Ortiz is here, and we might have other folks as well to talk about the Cap Metro fare payment system changes. Ms. Mueller is here as well.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you all for having us. And this presentation, I'm Melissa Ortiz. I'm Director of Community Engagement and Involvement with Cap Metro, and I'm here today with my colleague, Brandy Mueller, who will be presenting today. And I will be sharing the presentation.
Sorry, a little bit of PEBCAC. Good evening. I am Brandy Mueller from the Cap Metro. I'm the Director of Revenue and Fares, and I'm super excited to be with y'all here tonight. Excuse me, I have a little bit of bronchitis, but that can't keep me from it, right? It's a little cold outside, but we got this. So I'm super excited. We have some really great technology updates coming this year, and actually by March. So let's just go ahead and get into it. What is changing? We have several different components changing. We have hardware changing, fare payments changing, and the Cap Metro app. We are getting some brand new validators on the buses, a little bit of an upgrade from what we have, new validators on the trains as well. We're getting, what's really exciting is the first chance to rebrand our reloadable fare card. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit, but really excited that we're going to have a reloadable fare card for a second time, but really kind of honing in on what that means to use that fare payment. And we're streaming we're streamlining our processes in order to use that reloadable card so that we're not having the, you know, the take and the throw, and we're reducing waste. Now, the thing I am most excited about, sorry, Melissa, can you go back one more? I saved the best for last on this one. The most exciting thing that I have for you is the tap to pay. We will have Apple Pay, Google Pay, credit, and debit on the validators. This is super exciting. We've been waiting a long time for it. We're finally going to get it. So if you just want to get on a bus and tap that Apple Pay, or excuse me, Apple Wallet, Google Pay, credit, or debit, you can tap to pay your fare and even get fare capping daily. Go into that in a little bit. With this new UMO system, the new validators, the new fare payment, also comes a new app. A new app, you say. Actually, when you switch validators, you need a new app. So this one is streamlined. We're excited to switch it out. So we're retiring the old CAP Metro app and implementing the new UMO app so you can pay in the app. I must say we are also promoting the use of our transit app, which gives us great trip planning. So excited to have those two working in conjunction to help move us forward. Next slide. What's changing on the passes and cards? The 7-day pass and the 31-day passes are being retired. They will be removed from the 7-day pass will be removed from the app in late February. January 31st, the 31-day pass will be removed. However, currently we have daily and monthly fare capping on our bite mark system, which we will move over to the new UMO system and promote that a little more heavy. It will be more of a, if you don't use it, you don't lose it kind of situation. So we're excited to offer this rather than time-based, right? I put my money on my card, I step on the bus, I tap my fare, that reloadable car payment card or your app, and you automatically get fare capping. If you ride twice in a day, you will pay no more than 2 rides. If you go 35 times in a month, you will pay the month and then get the rest of your rides free. What we need from our customers, will need help with those balance transfers. We have been sifting through everything we've had in Bitemark, which we've had since 2012, believe it or not. This is the first time we're switching over. So we have a lot of housekeeping to do. You know, kind of when you move houses, you find that you have all the stuff you didn't really know you had. Not really the case, but there is a lot moving. So we have to pack it all up and we have to move over to the new system. So we'll need our customers' help to get there. Plastic cards, such as the bottom that you see, including the AMP cards and the passes, i.e. registered to the HMIS individuals, will need to be switched out. Not going away. I mean, they are going away. We're just simply switching one set of media for another. What's staying the same? Those paper passes. We have those paper passes. That 1-day pass is not going away. We all love the 1-day pass. We all love the paper 1-day pass. So that is going away. The 7 and 31 day, we have some paper passes of that, but those will roll off. And as they sell out, we are just going to usher them out. Next one. Benefits of this new technology system. I don't know if you can tell I'm super excited about this, but this is even more reason to be excited. That tap to pay, I know I'm going to say it like 18 million times. I really am excited about this. You can take advantage of daily fare capping on those tap to pay. So that means that even if you don't want a registered account with us, you can still take advantage of our fare capping. It'll just be on daily. But with an account, you get daily and monthly fare capping. Faster onboarding. Super excited about this one. Who likes to sit behind somebody else and take forever trying to fix that QR code on the space that it needs to go? The faster onboarding comes from these new validators. The way that they are designed to move faster. They are also designed to detect your fare payment from your app. So super quick. We did a test and it's something like 3 times faster than the other one. So we're super excited about it. Sustainability. I talked a little bit about this. With going with that reloadable fare card, you don't have to go somewhere and get another fare card and then chuck it when it's used. It's one card used all the time. You put money on it at the TVMs, at HEB, our retailers, at the transit store, online, in your app. There's 6 different ways to do it and a plethora of places to do it at. So we're more excited. More usage of the app and tap to pay. Again, trying to get towards that faster boarding and that sustainability to make sure people pay the way they want to pay when they want to pay it. Long-term vision, we are simplifying our cards and passes. When I got here 8 months ago, we had 98 passes. This will significantly reduce it, streamlining what we have. It'll be easier to pay, easier to figure out. You simply load money, get on the bus, and go. Additionally, I know it seems like it's not because we're switching out 1 for 1, but we will have that new app, which gets us towards our one app goal. Next. Customer impacts. So if you're using that CAP Metro app, of course, we're going to need you to switch it out. You'll use it to pay digitally. You'll need to download the app, the new UMO app to use it, and then we'll help you transfer over your balance sometime starting in February. We're still working on the details for that because there is a lot to transfer over. So making sure everybody gets the attention that they need, whether they have passes, they have stored value, or they are close to using it up. So trying to give everyone that specialized attention. Physical passes, those plastic passes that we have. It says commuter, 31-day, local. Those passes will be going away. The plastic ones, the plastic smart cards. Remember, I said those paper passes will continue to exist at the day mark. The 7 and 31 days will, of course, just roll off as we get it. Details to come soon on how to switch out those physical passes. Thank you very much. As we're talking about early in 2025, we've got information on how to exchange those cards and transfer balances. Again, still working on those details, but not going to just leave everybody high and dry. We want to make sure everybody gets what they need. We'll begin transferring your balances next month and swapping out those old plastic cards. We're working on that schedule of when you can meet us at a stop, go to the transit store, whatever we decide we can get the easiest and fastest way to get you what you need. On March 1st, the old validators with the old CAP Metro will stop working. We will have everybody digitally who will need to switch over by then in order to keep using it or switch to the paper passes. The plastic passes will go away as of April 1st. That being, we have found a small workaround to where anybody who hasn't had, we realize this is coming on fast, and anybody who hasn't had a chance to use up that plastic pass or hasn't gotten to us to get it fixed or get a new one, will have the chance to use it through April 1st on that cash box that we have. That brings me to one more point that I didn't say yet, is that cash is not going away. We have not decided to take cash away, and no fares are changing in the space of this, in the span of this, except for the removal of the 7 and 31 day passes. So cash will stay, still going to have the cash box. So this is just those validators that we use digitally. Next one. Customer impacts to RFID, which is reduced fare IDs, and Metro Access ID card holders. Currently, we have it where they can use their pass on the fare box. They tap it, they pay their fare in cash. That will not change. Right now, if they want to pay digitally, they will call us, get their app updated. They'll have their new app done. They'll get their app updated. It will simply reflect that they're a reduced fare customer. And anytime that they tap on the reduced card, they either use the reloadable card. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. They will use it with their app. They can tap and they will get the reduced fare, or they can choose to use the reloadable card, which we can attach the reduced fare to as well. So they can go to the transit store and buy passes, but also just making sure that they have what they need to, and they'll be able to tap their current card on the fare box to pay cash and get the new card for the digital. Next. Customer impacts to access riders. These should not affect the access service. Currently, Access has its own app. The bite mark was used just as a backup and or secondary method of payment. We will have the ability to purchase that single ride in UMO But there will not be a validator on the bus. It will just be visually validated as it is currently. So Access customers will continue to use pay over the phone, Spare app, but will now be able to buy the single rides in UMO or use their physical passes. Next. It loves you today, doesn't it?
Oh, well, I see pickup on my end. Is that what y'all see?
Yes. Oh, pickup's next. There you go. Okay, pickup customers. It's largely the same like it is for Access. Pickup customers currently use the VIA app to schedule their rides. They can also pay for the rides or they can pay in cash. Paying in cash is not going to change. Using the VIA app is not going to change. But if they are current customers who enjoy paying for their services through the Bytemark app, they will simply migrate over to the UMO app. This does not mean any change other than swapping out that app one for one. There are not validators on the pickup cars currently. There is a plan to do it soon, but they are currently not there. Impacts to rail riders. There will not be a single change. That's not true. They will receive new handheld validators. So I was thinking from their perspective that they won't change. They will simply just see the validators who are showing up, the conductors who will have the new validators show up. The one thing that they can expect to do that the old validators could not do is tap to pay. So that's an exciting add in. So the old validators will be going away. The new validators will be in there. The plastic passes will continue not to work on the validators. So all passes and or stored value, again, will need to be moved to the digital UMO app to keep their digital app, but also that reloadable card will work on that handheld validator. So excited to have that too. Customer impacts to AMP and Equifair users. The users of the physical AMP cards will need to come switch them out one for one. It's a simple swap. I'll give you your balance on this. You will have that. Digital AMP cards as well. It looks similar to a digital wallet. We'll need to transfer those balances over. So that and Equifair rates. In Bytemark, we mark your app as an Equifair customer. You receive those benefits when you get on and you pay. It will be exactly the same way in UMO. So you will put your money in, you will get on, you will tap to pay, and it will deduct it at the Equifair rate. Impacts to clients of service providers. Those individuals who received a pass through social service providers will need to work directly with those providers on the process to switch out those cards and passes as is needed. We have been working with all of the agencies that we work with to get them these passes. So we're making sure that they have the update. In fact, we've been talking to them since October about the potential change and what was going to happen. And they actually have been very beneficial in helping design what this looks like going forward. In addition to switching out their passes, which, yes, I know it sounds like a nightmare. Some nights I stay up just thinking about it, but it's really, we're going to change from 2-year pass to a 1-year pass. The reason being is that we want individuals who are seeing their service providers to go see them more often than just once every 2 years, right? To make sure that they're getting the help that they need and that they're checking in to get anything that they need and they're not feeling, left out. So that is the only change that is coming to them other than having to switch out their card. Next slide. Ticket vending machines and retail network. These are shifting slightly. Ticket vending machines are not changing, except that they will no longer receive the AMP card. They will now use the reloadable fare card. And you can put cash in it, you can put credit in it, which is super exciting for that one. Additionally, that retail network will change just slightly, but you will be able to take that reloadable card and or your app to participating retailers and upload stored value to your wallet and or card. See, we're trying to make it easier, bigger wide net for people to walk in and do what they need to do, right? Like we're not trying to keep anybody from being able to load their card. We're trying to make it easier to get on faster onboarding, right? That whole sustainability. Next. Title VI analysis. So because we are ending the 7 and 31 day passes, Cap Metro is required to complete a title analysis. But we have so many changes going on in addition to this. I talked to you about, technology is changing. We're using this new tap to pay. We've got several other things changing. We have a back end changing. So we had the title analysis individuals, the consultants look at, are these things, are these things also going to trigger a Title VI, or do they have any Title VI? Do they affect the Title VI in any way? So we did this in an effort to be transparent about what we're doing. So we're super excited to talk about what that means as well. Next one. Why Title VI applies to Cap Metro, and Zenobia did a fantastic job of talking about that. And Title VI prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. We do this because it is the right thing to do, and absolutely. So we're going to continue with the Title VI. Happy to share what that is. We are waiting on it just as it finishes up. So we're happy to bring that January 15th and announce those results of the Title VI. Next one. So for those of you who don't know what a Title VI analysis looks at, it looks at, does the changes that we are making change and give an unfairly impact minority populations, causing a disparate impact, and or low income populations causing a disproportionate burden. So that's what we're looking at when we look at the Title VI and all of the changes that we're making. So excited to see what that comes to on January 15th. The board timeline. I don't know if you remember, back in July 2024, we got board approval to execute the new UMO contract for the fair backend system. In October, the contract was executed. We started in November doing the installation of the new hardware. That will continue all the way through February. We have a lot of buses and a lot of rail cars. So those will continue through that. We started the Title VI analysis in November, and we're going to finish up on January 15th, right in time for the public hearings. And then on January 27th, we're going to be seeking approval from the Cap Metro board meeting. So at that place, we will explain the Title VI findings as well. On March 2nd, I know there's a March 1st, March 2nd in here. We said March 1st to be absolutely sure that it turns off, but on March 2nd is our proposed implementation date of UMO. Next slide. Thank you very much for having me tonight. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much. Questions and comments from any of the committee members? Ms. Mary, please go ahead.
Yeah, so when the plastic cards that you're doing away with, that includes the disability fare cards, correct?
No, ma'am. That was with the disability, the RFID and the Metro Access ID. Those are staying.
Okay, so the little plastic disability reduced rate card will continue to work.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry I didn't make that more clear. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate you.
Ms. Berry.
First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. A couple questions. I would like to see the Title VI analysis, and I don't know if now is the time or whenever you provide the information later on. Like, I don't even know what that looks like. So you said what it is, but I'm just curious, like, how you even go through that process. I don't know if you want to do that now, or then whenever hopefully you come back and give us the results, you can explain to us how you did it. So that's one comment. My second, my question is, why UMO? I'm curious about that. And third, marketing for like to the wider audiences on all these changes. I'm curious on how that's going to happen.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yes, Title VI. It is a very long and drawn out process, hence why it took 2 months. Happy to tell you a little bit more about it. I don't quite have the results yet, but hoping to on the 15th. So if you have one next month, I'm happy to come back and explain how that goes. 2, why UMO? And by the way, it's very hard as English people, because this is actually from across the pond. It stands for U Mobility. I was standing in a section of people who I was like, Umo, Umo, Umo. And they were like, excuse me, ma'am, it's Umo. So I forever will call it Umo. So Umobility. Fantastic, right? So yes, why Umo? Umo, we had a long process looking at several different apps and several different validator sections and several different companies for this particular one. And we worked through the process, and Umo fit all of the boxes and made it to the top of that process list. Third question. Sorry, I might need coffee.
The marketing.
The marketing. So marketing has actually started. I don't know if you've seen. Sam Baez has done a lot. Actually, I think she's done 3 so far. KXAN. Nathan put out something today. He put out a news article. We've already started. So that's part of what we're doing right here. We're having the public outreach. We're talking to people. We're doing all of this stuff. It's not going to be a one and done thing, right? Like we keep telling you, hey, we're letting everyone know, hey, this is coming. Here's our high level expectations while we figure out what the details are, and then we'll continue. What we don't want to do is barrage everybody, but it's not the last time you should hear from us. Have you not seen? Have you seen the KXAN stuff? No. All right. I'm happy to send you those. They're really cool. I'm really excited about it. Also, my transit store is moving this week, so I'm excited about that too.
And Brandy, if I can add a little bit more on the marketing side. So right now, we're doing public meetings, just sharing what we are proposing. And then once it's approved by the board, yes, there'll be a lot more communication. Yes, on our social media. Yes, news outlets are already covering and will hopefully continue to help us spread the word. But also we do Metro Alerts, which is a direct text to our writers who are subscribed to this so that they can receive it directly and can get that information sent to them. And then we'll also be doing at-stop outreach. So we'll be at our highest ridership stops and making sure that people know, hey, this is changes coming, and here are the locations where you can make your change of cards once we have those details of where we'll be. And our hope is that we'll be at places where we're meeting the riders where they are. That helps more on how we are trying to get, raise awareness that this change is happening at a larger sense. And then as far as Title VI, another way that we can share the findings, once we have those, we can share the report, right? I'll send it out to this group here so that you can receive it directly.
Perfect. Thank you. And just to follow up on that, Spanish marketing, I'm assuming will be happening. Suggestion on the app, like the current app that you have, is it possible to have like something pop up like this app won't be working soon? Make sure you download something like that. Because right now I just opened the CAP Metro app and it works as if normal. Mm-hmm. So that might be another good place to put it. And this is something not necessary, but if there's some kind of campaign you can do with like the recycling of the cards, like doing something sustainable with like some kind of art place. So it's something that's like calling attention to it, but it's also sustainable and like recycling and doing something resourceful. Just an idea, throwing it out there.
Thank you, Mojli.
Thank you, Mr. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Ortiz.
Thank you. To answer the Spanish, yes, everything is in Spanish and English, all of our material, and even this presentation is also available in Spanish. Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Go ahead, Mr. Reed.
I have 2 questions. Will the reloadable card be able to be reloaded at a gas station? And also, what is the most used form of people paying to use the bus?
Great questions. So yes, some gas stations will have it. The proposed retailers will be released soon. So some gas stations you can. We look to expand in the future. That comes with our back end. So looking to have them expand that. But gas stations, there are a few. I think 7-Eleven, don't quote me on this because I'm remembering something that I saw about a month ago. I believe so. So hold tight. I'm pretty sure there are. The second one, currently it's about a 50-50 split between cash and digital. right? And I say digital because I'm including that AMP card and all the other cards. So it's about a 50-50. So that's why cash is not going away. It is not done yet. So now that gets that's a complicated answer a little bit, right? Because we have retailers like HEB. We don't ask them how they pay. We sell the passes to them and they're resellers. So
Thank you.
Did you have another question or? Hi. Go ahead, Mr. Garza.
Yeah, that's a really interesting comment about cash. You know, because one of the coolest things is I'm not sure what you call the program, but using the app, you know, on one trip at a time, and then once you reach your monthly amount, that it then triggers that. That's obviously not occurring for customers that are, you know, using cash. Do you have any thoughts on? I mean, what are some of the ideas on how to?
I can't speculate, but what I can say is that I hope that this campaign moves that a little bit, right? That we're getting them into. But then again, am I really going to be angry that somebody is paying with cash when they really just want we need to take them from point A to point B, and I need to facilitate that for them? I just, it's almost like Field of Dreams, where I'm like, I will build it. You come on, we'll make sure you can ride. Right. So, how that's mitigated, I think it's complex, right? We have we would get into politics and I don't really need to get into that, right? Like we've got the US government, you know, like cash isn't going away. So are we really just going to say, no, we don't want you to ride without cash, when it is a very large portion of what we take in. So. But you're right. If they would just take that reloadable fare card and go to 7-Eleven or go to HEB and tap it up, or be able to go to a website. But then again, you know, maybe that's not convenient for them. And maybe the barrier was they didn't have any more than a particular amount of money at a particular amount of time. Right. This time, it's available, right? If they want to go to HEB 4 times in a week and pay that $7 or that $11.25 for a 7-day pass, they certainly can. If they're not using that full pass, then, you know, by the time they get to that 4 weeks, actually, by the time they get to roughly halfway through that 3rd week, they will have the same benefits as if they were paying cash on the cash box. So I think they'll need to be a little bit more outreach that way, right? Yeah. So, and it's going to be changing a behavior, right? Because we have been operating the same for quite a while. So, you know, we're obviously kind of moving the cheese where then, you know, it's like, oh, this is new. Is this what I think it is? So, you know, kind of, you know, make the change, then try to get the behavior to be like, hey, did you know you can use this reloadable fare card? It would really help you out, right? So.
It really does. It's a great program.
Love it. I like that you love it. Are you writing? Yeah. I love this.
And I'm a super fan of Tap to Pay. You know, I get to visit Seattle quite often, and they have the Orca, which I think is in it. So I just looked it up. Not Umo.
Yeah, Umo.
But yeah, the Tap to Pay saves a lot of time. So super excited about this change.
Indeed. Even fare capping on Tap to Pay is exciting, even if it is day cap. But I'm super excited about it.
Before we go on to the next question, I just want to make a comment as well, Mr. Garza, just to let you know, folks might remember when this conversation came, I want to say nearly 2 years ago, when it was Cap Metro sort of was, you know, putting it in place. Me and a bunch of other folks really wanted to see the cash aspect remain, just because we were worried about the equity impacts of what that would look like in confusion. And so I do want to, you know, acknowledge that that was something that came from advocates, and I really appreciate Cap Metro sort of, you know, working on that. And the idea was that over time, and I know this is something transit agencies throughout the nation are working on, over time we'll work to sort of phasing it out. But, you know, as Ms. Mulder was saying, at least as of this moment, there's a lot of folks who are still working with cash and coins, and we wanted to sort of keep that option open.
Hi, thanks. I had 2 questions. So one, and this may have been actually underneath another category, or maybe I missed it, but for those who use like institutional passes, like the most common one I think is, and this is, a selfish question a little bit because this is how I ride the bus. I'm a UT staff employee. And so I just swipe my UT ID card, which often doesn't work anymore, but it's fine. They see I have ID. They're cool. Our operators are great. So and there might be some other examples that are similar of institutional type transit passes. And that's my first question. I'll just let you have that one and I'll give you the second one after that.
Okay. So institutional, are you talking about, because we have Cap Metro for Business, we have Travis County employees that we support, City of Austin employees. So we have a lot of different individuals who interact with us. UT has like a special place in our heart, right? We've got your own buses, and it hurts me to hear that that's not working. Are you using the validator or are you using the cash box?
I swipe the strip. Yeah,
and
cash
it's not
box.
working. Okay, all right. I'm writing this
And then
down.
the operator's like, honey, don't worry, just go on back. So
Well, our one day hope, in fact, if I'm secretly hoping it will be that we get you on the validator rather than that cash box soon. I can't make you any promises, but that is my hope. So, other institutional ones
so
we
it's
have.
like the app knows I work for UT.
Got you. Yes.
Goal.
So it can be, right? So like right now, our contract with UT is for your IDs because it is easier to manage, right? If you wanted to separately from that, you could get that app, and we probably could. It would be a little bit to map you to it, but for the ease of, right, we have reporting set up with UT with, are you writing here? Are you writing there? Right? Because you're able to use a multitude of our services. So it would just be easier for data purposes to keep you on your ID. But that, I mean, I can't preclude it from, that particular space. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to tell you we're going to get rid of UT
ID up to the validator.
We're working on that. That's what I'm saying. I would hope we get it working on the validator soon. I can't make that promise. I know that we're trying. So I know that is a pipe dream of mine. So I will be doing a happy dance if it happens.
I see, but I can't do that now. I was like, am I missing something? I can't do that now. Right.
You can't. We tried for a period of time and there were some validator issues that were popping up, much like the cash boxes that you're telling me. So I'm sorry to hear it's not working on the cash box. I'm going to look into that. If you have some specific routes that you're on that one, let me know just so I can look into, because if it's not working for you, it might not be working for other people. And then that means that's harder for us to, one of the things we do with the UTIDs is look at the capacity with which we handle for y'all, and we have to make sure we have enough planning for that. So what I want to do is make sure that the data, right? Because the last thing I'd like to do would be like, oh man, we really only have 300,000 people writing rather than 2 million people, right? So like that's the difference. I know you guys aren't 2 million, but that's a for instance. I don't want there to be vast data gaps so that we can't make great decisions for you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess that also is really flowing well into my second question, which is like, being somebody that does ride the bus a fair amount, not like I'm not, I do have a car and I drive sometimes, but I often, if I can, choose to ride the bus. For a long time, like the validators really just don't scan very well. So lots of people make valiant attempts to scan at the validator and fail. Other people like don't even try, probably because they've had their fair share of valiant attempts. So I feel like this will increase the fare box recovery that y'all are having in a sense, and like bring more money in. I mean, whether or not that's a public policy goal, we could talk about that forever and ever. But one thing I do, and I don't know how worried I am about this, but it does seem like, I mean, this is very widespread, right, in the system, that people just have stopped trying to validate because they've had many, many experiences of not being able to validate. So it does make me a bit concerned that we have a culture of not trying to validate that we've built here because our systems weren't working for us. And I don't know if you have any thoughts about if that means anything, or if that would, any thoughts of what that means for y'all as an institution.
So I don't like to dwell on the past. I'm going to start with where we're headed, right? what I'm super hopeful about, and the reason I'm so excited about these new UMO validators, and I kind of touched on it, but maybe I didn't get as excited as I need to be. These suckers are fast, right? Like they're super fast. And I know, that, the validator right now on the bus is just kind of stands up like this, and it's just this tappy, it's straight. The new validators are kind of like cattywampus. Like I should have brought you a picture. I'm super sorry, but it's kind of cattywampus to where if you are going to use a QR code, right? Remember, there are several different ways. We've got that TVM that's going to have that QR code. It's going to do this. So there's no more like, it's sort of like the airport, right? When you go to the airport and you flip your phone over, it just works, right? There's also a nearness capacity where that's still that tap to pay. So if you have your Apple Wallet, your Google Pay, so on and so forth, it should recognize it. And sometimes it's a little too fast. So as an institution, I need to make sure our stuff is working, and not that it's not working, right? But working properly and as we expect it to work, so that we can give our operators the stability to need to be like, oh yeah, the thing's not working, right? So, and it's intermittent right now. So it's really hard to force people to do things and to change that behavior until we can get this right and tight, right? We're coming out the gate, we're coming new. And I'm not trying to overpromise. I'm just saying the preliminary results are super exciting. And I hope that this fixes it.
Great, thank you. I mean, I think it'll be a big culture shift. I mean, both for riders and as you also very well noted, for the operators as well. Because I've appreciated how operators have conducted themselves and given people grace through any tech difficulties that we've all experienced. So, I mean, we'll all be in this together, figuring it out, I think. So thanks.
100% agree. Thank you for that feedback. I truly appreciate you.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes. Let me make sure I heard you properly, that those of us with RFID cards and who use the app on our phones will be transitioned to using a different app, basically, but still on our phones, still with an RFID card.
So yes, that will depend on how you want to pay, right? If you want to use cash, you take that beautiful little plastic card and you smack it on the cash thing and you plunk your cash in. If you love paying by app, which I'm pretty sure you do after our conversation last night, is that if you like that in your app, when you get ready to switch over, what will happen is we will send you an email, right? You'll make your UMO credentials. You can go to that right now if you want to. You can go make your UMO. It's not functional, but it's there, right? So yes. And so you can go make your credentials, and then we will mark your account much like we do right now as RFID, so that you can just ride and pay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions and comments? I do want to say, I feel like a lot of my questions got answered. I love this group for this reason and going last. But one thing I'll just mention is, and I think it kind of came up in the communications thing, and I think it's a separate conversation I'm going to assume, which is the rollout and how do we roll it out. So, right, I agree with you. I've actually already seen some of the work that y'all are doing and putting it out in the community. I've seen some of the social media. I think ads are popping up. They might be paid ads because they're popping up on my social media, which is great and exciting. But also, like, how do we roll this out, I think is going to be a really big challenge. It is a big switch in our system. And we know that in other systems, I'm thinking of New York and others that went to these kind of systems, really it caused a lot of chaos, honestly, in week one. And of course, like, as much as we can minimize that, and I think some of it is going to be hard because there's folks who are not going to be able to reach out to. But frankly, one of the things I would recommend is even if we could catch people at bus stops or rail stations, so that folks who we know are regularly using it at rush hour, maybe we can catch them, really try to let them know that there is a switch coming. So I don't know if that's something y'all have thought about. I know it's going to be in the future as the board approves it, because of course approval is needed before rollout even formally begins in the same way.
Thank you for that comment. We are still working on that rollout plan. It is going to be chaotic. And I think I say this every single day. The chaos is worth it. It really will be. So, yes, like I said, I do stay up nights thinking about this. It's not that I want to cause anybody any kind of chaos or any kind of confusion or any kind of frustration. This is simply just the way to get better.
No,
Thank
I
you.
agree. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said thank you for your comment.
You know, and I do want to acknowledge it. Of course, I think this is really, really big. It's a big step. I think it's a long time coming for our community. I think it will make it much easier for a lot of folks here to use. I think for folks out of town, this makes honestly a really, really big system when you're trying to navigate a new system. And then I agree with what Mr. Garza, you were saying. I think one of the most exciting parts is the fare capping mechanisms. Particularly, I'll be honest, fare capping becomes really important when you're trying to switch buses. So if you have multiple different buses that you have to take to get to a single location, that fare capping becomes so critical. So I think part of it will be communicating and educating our community as much as possible to move away from the older system so that they are taking benefit from the fare capping. Okay, well,
Couldn't agree more.
thank you all so much. Not seeing any, Mr. Garza, did you have another question? Okay, not seeing any other questions. Thank you so much, Ms. Mulder and Ms. Ortiz. We really appreciate you all being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
This takes us to our next item, which is our staff updates. While we have you, Ms. Ortiz, I don't know if you had any other updates from the Cap Metro side, and then we can switch to our other teams as well.
Thank you for that. No updates on the Cap Metro site, but thank you.
Mr. Max, do we have anything from?
I think you pretty much heard for us. The DEIS does come out tomorrow, and on the website we do have the dates for the open house. So I think that's pretty much it for us.
Get that. And then I see that we do not have any particular updates from the city of Austin either. So we'll talk to working group updates. I don't know if we have any particular updates. I'll just go over two quick ones. One is for the governance committee. We met with the staff from ATP to talk about the website. We provided some feedback, and I know other folks have provided additional feedback as well. Staff is working on that, and we'll be sort of putting it together. So just wanted to acknowledge that. And then the anti-displacement working group will very soon be pulling together some conversations, because I cannot believe it's time already, but we're going to be planning for the next tranche of the anti-displacement funds. So that's something that I think starting at the end of this month or next month, I'll be pulling together that working group together as well. I don't know if other working groups have any updates as well. Seeing none, that takes us to future meetings and agenda items. So I think on the future agenda items, Ms. Summers, please help me here. Do you want to go ahead if you have a thought?
This is about the North Lamar?
Yes, and just
Yes.
understanding how our city's mobility programs and the capital, like how it's all intersecting, how we're looking at safety, sort of the larger picture, and with TxDOT involvement as well.
Yeah, I mean, so I think specific to some of the concerns that we were looking at visually and the safety, there was a 2016 mobility bond that had money for corridors that was supposed to rework large portions of North Lamar. And that's not really come to fruition as the community was promised. And there was a corridor program office that was administering that, and now it's a new unit called Capital Delivery Services. So potentially they could come and talk to us about how they're spending the funds and how they're making decisions to spend the funds that were allocated from the 2016 mobility bond, which are candidly significantly behind schedule. So that would be one way of drilling down at it. Certainly there's also other units within the city, like the Vision Zero team and, folks working with like more longer range planning and update, keeping track with the Austin Strategic Mobility Plan that might be able to speak to some of these issues. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling a bit, but like, I don't know exactly the best way we want to crystallize it, but there's a couple things we could think about.
Yeah, Susan, it sounds like you're wearing mostly your other hat.
Yeah, I'm wearing, yes. Yeah.
Mr. Parthmiller, please go ahead.
Hi, Peter Parthmiller with the City of Austin, and I'm happy to get with the Transportation and Public Works Department along with Capital Delivery Services to figure out who might be best to join us next month or soon after and present to you and answer your questions.
I think part of the problem that I've had is getting the right people together all to listen anyway, because there's so many different units and people who who play a part in solving this problem. It's really challenging. So.
Yeah, again, both Susan and I serve on the Urban Transportation Commission of the City of Austin, as well as the Project Connect Community Advisory Committee. And the question is, which organization, and at least I was told that part of the reason I was being appointed to this committee was to ensure better communication with the Urban Transportation Commission. And it's unclear to me which organization more or less should take the lead on this topic. And maybe we'd better figure that out first.
I know we can't get into agenda items, but like it might not be absurd to have City of Austin Watershed come talk to us, because the amount of watershed mitigation that has to be done in this corridor is one of the barriers to making it safe. Because what we need to do to make transportation safe, we're going to be required to fix all the watershed issues, and we don't have enough money to do the watershed issues. I'll just put that out there. So like that's an example of, I've never actually sat down with someone in watershed to say to talk with them about it. So like, that's just one example of why this is a complex issue. And I'll try not to get any further into policy there.
I appreciate that. And just to respond quickly to your comment, Mr. Brooks, I do think this is, of course, the purview of the Urban Transportation Commission, right? Because y'all are the city's advisory body, and you advise related to all of those things. Of course, it intersects with those corridors where we have light rail and Project Connect infrastructure, so it gets a little muddy there. But we also want to acknowledge, of course, what's coming up. But I do defer to, honestly, my colleagues from the Urban Transportation Commission on how to carry the conversation forward. But of course, we want to support and make sure that that conversation follows through.
One of the questions I have asked is for the corridors that were funded in the 2016 mobility bond, and then are also later in 2020 became part of Project Connect. A great example of that being East Riverside. I asked, like, are also Guadalupe, like through the campus area, the drag is also another example. And I've sort of asked, like, are you holding money back from the bonds to support any rebuilding that happens in Project Connect? And the answer to that is no. They're taking the mobility funding that they have, and they're basically trying to get it spent right now within the confines of the bond and what was passed by the voters. But they're not, they don't want to go in there and obviously rip up Riverside right now and build something if Project Connect's going to come in and build light rail starting in 2027. So, I think that I do have an answer there about some of the overlap. So I think it's important to understand that as well.
I appreciate that. And thank you, Mr. Parthmole, as well. So we're in our planning meetings, what we'll do is we'll work with staff, because I also want to acknowledge that some of this also intersects with CAP Metro and, the way the bus stops are located and things like that. So we'll make sure that we have relevant staff and sort of look at this in a more holistic manner. Do we have other future agenda items that folks want to bring up at this time? If not, without any other feedback, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting of the Project Connect Community Advisory Committee at 6:45 p.m. Thank you all very much, and stay warm and safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Get home safely.
Think so.
Bye.